the street.
Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
And away we do go. Purple Access. Judd and Chip Scoggins, of course, Star Tribune sports columnist and my former partner in crime on the Vikings beat. Chipper, I'll start you off here. How close do you think the concrete is to drying, and how much do you think McCarthy's brain has been able to change as we truly get into some very interesting analogies of the J.J. McCarthy experience, none of which I could see like Vince Lombardi saying.
Well, if I knew how close he was to rewiring his neurological pathways,
Thank you.
I'd have a better idea about how close the concrete is to settling. So
Can't you see an old school Papa George Hallis being like, concrete's not settled yet. There's nothing we can do with Luckman.
When JJ brought that one out, he's rewiring his neurological pathways in terms of relearning the position, which as I listen, because I was out at the facility Wednesday when he was having his media thing, it was clear that they underestimated how either close he was or to be in. I mean, well, he's talking about basically having to relearn the position or relearn all new fundamentals from based on what he's grown up and been taught at previous stops, and rewiring neurological pathways. I mean, like, this is not. I can't imagine this is what they envisioned when they put this team together.
No. I would agree completely.
So I don't know, Judd. How close are I don't know, because Sunday was so bad with the misses. Now, it is odd that he can look like that and then in the 2 minute or 4 minute there come out and lead him right down the field, 85 yards for a touchdown. So I don't know. And we saw that in game 1 against Chicago, and in those, have to have it moments, he tends to come through. But Judd, watching him Sunday and the misfires that he had I would say there were probably, what do you think, 5 passes that were so far off that you're like, the one where he missed, when he missed Jefferson and goes like this, puts his hands on his head and basically sprints off the field. I thought they're going to have to pull him because this is just snowballed to the degree that I don't know if this is going to improve. Now, to his credit, it did improve, right? He had that drive, but I don't know, Judd. I just don't know.
All right. You've been doing this for a long time. So I'm going to ask you this question. And it might seem weird, but I think it works. How much of this are you buying? Like I feel like we're being sold in some ways, being the cynical guy that I am. At some points, I feel like we're being sold like, well, you didn't realize, or right, and so like I can't figure out how much of this. I like McCarthy as a guy. Certainly at the podium, he seems like a nice guy. He's very friendly. But at the end of the day, I keep going back to, are we being like, is he really confident? Is he so shaken that he's trying to tell you he's confident? And now, to your point, they're basically saying, well, hold on, or he's saying, well, hold on a second here. I'm changing entirely how I play. Like, I can't figure out if this is a storyline fed to us to try to get us to like back off a little bit because, hey, it's still a long ways away. Like, put it as simply as possible. What the hell do you think is happening here?
I don't know. I do think he's a confident player. I think he has a lot of things going on in his brain right now in terms of everything. And I don't know that I've ever heard fundamentals and mechanics talked about with one player in my life. Like, that's all it is. That's all we talk about. Like,
as a pro, too?
As a pro. I mean, every time O'Connell talks, it's about McCarthy's fundamentals and his mechanics. Is like, it's almost become like this thing that every time he does a press conference, you have to ask about his fundamentals. Like, can it be that bad? That, I mean, you're
I know. I agree with you.
That
Yeah.
seems like so rudimentary that we're obsessed with his mechanics and fundamentals that I don't know. This can't be the process that they envision. That every single time, every single day, we're gonna be hearing and asking about his fundamentals and his mechanics. So I don't know. But even McCarthy in his presser, he said, it's to the point where like when he takes his dogs out, he's doing 10 dropbacks. I mean, he's in the backyard doing like.
I can't. This is what I can't figure out though. Like, are they trying to buy time because it's so bad that they are at a loss, and so they're just trying to talk about, because it's also, it's not weird, but it's interesting. So a couple of weeks ago, or for a month, whatever it was, O'Connell's whole thing was what, hands, eyes and feet, and
Base balance and body or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
And now it's, hey, the concrete has to start to settle, which I think is code for O'Connell saying it's go time. Like,
let's go.
Stop embarrassing me, because I was known as the quarterback whisperer, and that's going right out the door. So I find this whole thing, just trying to figure out what's going on here.
Well,
really interesting.
I clearly it's something physical, but I also wonder if it's just because, to me, this goes back to when they came back from Europe and they had that bye week, and O'Connell talked about how him and J.J. are on the grass together and they were working on it, and they really broke it down to like finite stuff, and it really has not stopped since then. Like the conversation about his mechanics, is it being discussed so much that now it's in his head and he's thinking, I mean, what's a paralysis by analysis that you're thinking so much about? I don't know. I mean, I know O'Connell's a stickler, and I'd never played quarterback, so I don't know how, I know it's intricate, and I know the fundamentals have to be good or you're not going to be an effective quarterback, but it just seems like there's this obsession with it. And I don't know if he just gets in the game, because JJ said, and I referenced this to O'Connell in the post game the other day, last week, JJ referenced this, what me and you have talked about a lot, that when you get in the game, sometimes bad habits creep back in. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's what we're seeing. Maybe maybe O'Connell's staff is teaching him something totally different in terms of footwork, all the fundamentals that go into it, than what he learned, growing up, Michigan, high school, all that. And maybe when he gets in games, he just reverts back to that, because that's kind of the muscle memory that he knows. And is that 75% of the problem? Is it 50% of the problem? Is it? I wonder too.
Yeah,
because he's so amped up, so intense. Is that leading to, is that causing some of the problems too?
I think best case, he is thinking way too much about what they've told him, which is why I think the possession, the last possession, was so good, because you can't think. Like, you're going in the huddle, you're calling a play, it's all just bang, 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 bang. And it worked really well. He was really, really good. Because we've seen enough good that when you try to sort of weigh what's the bad, I see a guy back there who is trying to think about and trying to do what they want him to do. And this is where I sort of fault O'Connell. You got to use the run more. And by the way, your run game's fine.
Yeah.
You've got to help him. And it feels like Kevin's insistent on getting to 2027 while we're still in 2025. I just saw a game on Sunday where it's like Kevin's like, we are going to do, and the Baltimore game was the poster child. That was the worst. But we're going to do, and he called a fine game, but we're going to do what I think that we need to do. And JJ's not there. He's just not there. You got to help him.
Yeah, and I thought they ran the ball more effectively against the Bears and had a nice blend. But you still got to throw the ball, and you come out the first series and Addison is wide open, and you bounce it however many yards short of him, and then
that started it. Yep.
And then I do wonder if there's a couple of those throws, and then he gets stuck on those, and then he's he just seems like he's hitching. He's moving up in the pocket when he doesn't need to. O'Connell's talking about his posture in the pocket. I don't know what that means, but
that's the other one too. That's new. That's like
Yeah.
new this week, right? Posture
Yeah,
in the pocket or last week?
that's the first time I'd heard it at the post game press conference, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I know what when someone tells you have good posture, you sit up straight. I assume that's what it means, but
I have terrible posture, by the way, Chipper.
I do too. I slump over.
I'm a slumper. I walk slump too.
And sometimes I do remind myself, you gotta sit up straight because it feels
really?
weird.
I rarely do.
Yeah, I have terrible posture. So again, it's just another thing. It's just like, how much is this? Is he just obsessed with the mechanics and and it's affecting the way he throws it? The other thing, Judd, is, I mean, everything is I was going to say Randy Johnson. Is that too far back? Randy Johnson fastball? Maybe I should say Duran fastball. Like,
yeah,
we're old school. We can say everything's a Randy Johnson fastball. It's like,
Nolan Ryan,
the one, Nolan Ryan. We'll go Nolan Ryan. People know Nolan Ryan. Like the one short check down to Aaron Jones, that to me, that's not a drop. It hit his hands, but it's like it's coming at him at, it had no touch on it. So everything's a fastball now. When he needs to, and what was the phrase that O'Connell used Wednesday at his press conference? Something about running, giving his receiver something about running. It was a new phrase I hadn't heard before, but I think that means like, give him a chance where everything's not just an absolute laser, Judd, there is just so much that I didn't think we'd be talking about at this point, and it's interesting because I'm writing a column about this for Sunday. This is going to be what, start 6? Is the 6 on Sunday at Green Bay?
Yep, he's at 5.
We got to have patience, right? But it's a combination of this Instagram, TikTok, I want things in 30 seconds, with a quarterback who clearly has a lot to work on, needs more time, and a team that doesn't have time. This roster does not have time.
No, but I think you need to. I think if the Bears' loss is in any way sort of weird, twisted positive, I think you need to accept your fate now, and you need to spend 7 games developing him. And by the way, knock on wood, hope to God he does not get hurt again, because that's a whole nother topic. But I think that this needs to become about him, because he still needs work. Obviously, if they're telling the truth, he needs a lot of work. But at the end of the day, you've got to see some progress here too.
And after the series, when he was getting booed really loud and he ran off and he held his head, I thought, okay, are they going to switch to Brosmer? But then it's like, that's not the answer. It's just not. I mean, what does that accomplish?
Nothing. Playing Carson Wentz accomplished nothing.
No.
Like you had to do it, but like there's so few quarterback positives other than when J.J. has popped up and looked good to the entire season.
No, and he has to go through this. Like, pulling him out of the game is not, because if you'd have pulled him out of the game, he wouldn't have had that last drive for that go-ahead touchdown. He wouldn't have had that experience. So I know people were saying put Brosmer in there. That's not the answer. I mean, he has to go through this, because if he goes through this, then you're going to know at the end of the year, okay, what is he good at? What is he not good at? What do we think about his future? Do we need to bring in a veteran next year to compete for the job? I mean, those questions can't get answered if you're putting him on the bench. So he has to go through this. He has to learn. And we just have to understand that, I mean, we're seeing what Drake May is doing. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's going to follow the same path. And here's the thing. I don't know. 5 years from now, I can't tell you what J.J. McCarthy is. Nobody can. Might be a bust. Might be a really good quarterback. But we're not going to know that answer after 5 games.
Correct. But these so this truly defines this phraseology, if that's the right term, I think, to a T. And Kevin O'Connell is going to hate it, despite the fact he uses it. But the last 7 games are all about process, not results. You cannot care what happens. You can't care. If you win, great. You're not going to the playoffs. And quite frankly, you don't belong. But it's all about the process, Chip. It's all about the process of the quarterback. And if you lose every game, if he makes progress, and then you're like, okay, we're seeing it now. It's starting to click. Like, I understand it's not going to be a finished product by the time the season ends against the Packers. but you've got to see incremental improvement here. You can't, to your point, if this is him, then you're going to have to bring in, then you're basically going to have to find your own Daniel Jones to the Colts, right?
Yes.
Which is, hey, you show up at training camp, you're going to compete, and you might win the job. And like Jones left here, not because of the contract. Jones left here because the Colts basically said, Anthony Richardson, are you want to show up? He's like, heck yeah.
Yeah, he had an opportunity to be the starter. So you're right. I mean, the rest of the stretch is all about finding out more about him and just figuring out this accuracy. Whatever it is that's causing him to complete 52% of his passes, whether it's mechanics, whether it's the speed of the game, whether it's whatever is causing it, they've got to get that ironed out. It's not to say you can't improve. There's been instances of quarterbacks. I mean, everybody keeps talking about Josh Allen. So he can improve his accuracy, but it's those throws that we saw that were like, I don't know if it's routine. I might make it too simple, but those don't look like hard throws that an NFL quarterback should make, right? And he's just throwing it 10 feet over guys' heads, and it's like,
yeah,
what is causing that? Like, what is happening?
Well, I think he has multiple mechanical issues. One is because, correct me if I'm wrong, you watched the sport a long time, but the post-throw leg whip, to me, I'm not familiar. Now, pitchers do it all the time, but I'm not familiar with watching guys. I mean, that's a whip.
Yeah.
And he doesn't set his feet. His feet are always, I wouldn't accuse him because I think the phrase happy feet comes from being afraid that you're going to get sacked.
Sure.
He literally foundationally doesn't allow himself to really plant. And if I'm not mistaken, the leg whip is the back leg. So
yes. Yeah.
That's your plant leg. So that's one, but the other one, and Chipper, this gets back to training camp, and we talked about it, but now it's just crystal clear what the problem is. Forget the mechanics for a second, but when they said he struggles to layer the ball in, they were exactly right. Like he throws every pass the same, essentially.
Yes, that's it. That's what, everything's a fastball. That's right. I mean, and we talked about OTAs, like those sideline routes and being able to put him over and have some touch on it. And he said that was his most, that's where he had to make the most improvement, because it's like, you didn't really make those throws in college. So that's a work in progress. But the leg whip, O'Connell got asked that Wednesday. And he said I'm trying to think. He said it's not entirely unusual, and he doesn't mind it, but it needs to be not all the time. Like, it almost feels like that's the leg whip after throwing a fastball. And like he says, he doesn't think he needs that all the time. So again, that's probably on the checklist of things that they're trying to correct. The thing I don't understand, just like, did this not reveal itself in March, April, June, July? I mean, like, and he's been here and I know he couldn't be on the field last year. So that's, he was injured, and that's where that lost year, I think, is really showing that he didn't have the year of fundamentals work. But he had this whole off season. It's like, I don't know why this is still a major problem.
Don't you think so? In going to a bunch of training camp practices, don't you think though that a lot of this didn't reveal itself because in games it gets worse, or gets
probably,
like, I feel like we're seeing things in games that we didn't necessarily see in training camp. Now, I mean, there's still a ton of questions, and at the end of the day, if we saw it or didn't, the Wilfs don't come to us and say what happened. They go to them and say what happened. So I totally get that, but yeah, this is a very, very difficult situation, which is why, again, he's got 28 quarters left.
Yeah.
You just got to grind through them and see if you can improve things. I mean, I think he needs more help right now. Like I want to get him more confident, and also to sort of come to his side a little bit, let's say what works for you. Like, I know what I want to do. And this is where I hate to say it, Chipper, but in some ways, this season reminds me a little bit, and Kevin O'Connell's a superior play caller, but it reminds me of Childress in 2006, which is we're going to do what I want to do. And it's like, Brad,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that with this guy. Or,
Yeah.
and so it's an interesting situation because no one's doubting O'Connell's ability to be really good at what he does, but you've got to get this guy right.
I wonder if look at like, because he has been in those 2-minute situations, at the end of the games. Is that because it's tempo, because he's not thinking? I mean, do you mix in some more tempo just to?
I would come out at tempo on Sunday just to try to get him into a rhythm.
Yeah, and so he's not thinking so much and just like complete some passes. Then he's not thinking about mechanics, not thinking about this. I mean, I know he still has to think, he's got to be mindful of the mechanics, but it's almost like he's just reacting more than doing all this thinking. Because I do think he internalizes everything. Like you listen to him talk, he's like, I'm analyzing this to the nth degree. I'm analyzing this to the nth degree. And that's why I was saying that paralysis by analysis. Like you almost think if he's just thinking about stuff so much that it's consuming him. I don't know. I feel like I'm a therapist here. I'm trying to figure this stuff out.
Here's my thing too. I don't want you to go home and walk the dogs and practice your drop back. I don't need you to do that. You like he is like a he's like a kid. The parallel to me is this. He's like a smart kid who tests horribly. Right?
Yeah, it might be a great analogy.
Go in and take a test and they suck at it. And it's like, you're really smart. What's wrong? Well, they freeze up, which happens. But then the question for the adults in the room is, okay, how do we bring out the best in the kid? Not let's make it worse. Let's give him 2 more tests. And so in some ways, look, he needs to improve. There's no question.
Yeah.
I am not giving up on him, but I do think there is a very viable discussion. If you get through 7 more games and there's not substantial, incremental improvement, you are going to have to make a decision about how you approach 26. I think Kevin O'Connell's job right now is in zero jeopardy. He's not getting fired. Nothing's going to happen. I think if he doubles down on McCarthy, though, in 26 and says, damn it, this is my guy, I'm going to teach him everything and he's going to learn, and things don't go well, that's how you get on a hot seat.
Yeah, if we're having the same exact conversation 7 weeks from now and it really hasn't improved, then I think the conversation is different in terms of how they proceed next year, because it's like, if you've gone through not a full year, but 10 games, or no, it'd be 12 games. I mean, he's at 4, and you're not
5.
seeing pretty substantial improvement, to where you feel like, okay, he made it through that storm. He's, we're not talking about mechanics every 3 seconds. And now it's just more about, understanding coverages and all these, all the intricacies that there are. Then you'll feel more optimistic about where things are going, but we've got to see it, Judd. I mean, you're right. You need to start seeing some signs that, he can be an NFL quarterback.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if O'Connell's going to stick with him too, I also think he has to adapt. Like you can't continue to go through this. And this team, it will be so interesting after the season too, right? Because so much has gone wrong. And J.J. McCarthy, because he's a quarterback, it's the sexy talker. But there's other conversations and there's other things and there's free agents that have not done what you expected, or guys that you brought back, or guys that you didn't bring back. My question now is, what is your confidence on the direction of this team now? And I'm not talking about, I think playoffs are done. So I'm talking about for 26. Like when you look at how things, a year ago, and heck, in June, after they signed all those guys, we're like, this is going to be great. What's your confidence now, or what's your feeling about the direction this franchise is going?
Well, not confident because, Judd, they've drafted so poorly. And eventually that catches up to you. Last year, hitting basically darn near 100% on your free agents, that's an anomaly. That's not a strategy. I mean, you can't, you can't think that you can just continue to build a team on veteran free agents. And so the fact that they've missed so much on drafts, I mean, it's at some point it catches up to you. And they just don't have, they've had so many misses. So I don't know, if you tell me Kwesi has a new process or formula for drafting, that's what, that's what's going to have to happen, because their drafting has just not been good, and it's put them in a really, really difficult spot. I'm sure the Wilfs afterwards, or after the season, are going to say, okay, we tried this thing. We spent a lot of money on free agents. It didn't produce the results we have. Why are we not drafting better? That's the questions I'd be. That's the questions I'd be asked. So they've been in this weird state because it's, whether you call it competitive or rebuild. And it's like, they've won a lot of games, but they've done it in a way that's not, I don't think, sustainable in terms of just hitting on a bunch of veteran free agents.
Yeah, and the problem there too is now you're capped out. Now you're up against it, and you're going to have to make a bunch of moves, cut a bunch of guys to open up cap space just to have sufficient cap space. The draft thing is, and that's another discussion too. Like, that's an in-depth discussion because like, you can torture it and be like, well, there's some guys from this draft class and blah, blah, blah. But
overall, big picture. Yeah.
But Chipper, if you've got, so I think right now the prognostication is with the supplemental picks, they'll have 10 picks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You literally need, well, first of all, you got a lot of positions of need, but second of all, Chip, you're at a point now where you're going to need about 5 guys to step in and just start playing.
Mm-hmm.
Draft picks. And teams do that. Like, there's 5th round picks that play. There's, and so it's, if you cannot be blowing the first 3 rounds. And now you need to have guys that come in, because I mean, if you look at this roster, there is quite a few prospects who will not be back, or potential names, right? Harrison Smith, I think, retires.
Yeah,
now.
he retires. Yeah,
like he's at the end. I don't know. It would be expensive to part company with Hargrave or Allen, but they might have to, because they have not exactly been impactful consistently. TJ Hawkinson is probably gone. And by the way, behind him, you've got very little. So you're going to need guys to step in and play. And yes, that's pressure, but that's the pressure that comes from having blown at least 2 draft classes.
Yeah,
not more.
What you're saying is basically they need to crush this draft, and there's been nothing from this regime that says they're ready or capable of doing that. And so that's where the real questions and uncertainty about where this thing's headed after this season, because what were they, 2nd or 3rd oldest roster last year, and they're probably right there again this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom half, I think.
That's not where you want to live, if you're not really, really a legitimate Super Bowl contender. If you're right there, okay, you do it. But if you're not going to make the playoffs with a veteran, with one of the oldest rosters, that's not good.
How do you think the Wilfs are going to take this, or are taking this?
Well, we know they're patient owners, Judd, right? I mean, I think that's pretty well established. But they spent a lot of money, Judd, on this roster this offseason. A lot. As Kwesi said, his kickoff press conference thing, they built this team with a vision in mind that it's going to be able to win multiple ways in the playoffs. If you spend that kind of money and you have these kind of results now, we can say injuries, kind of started this season off. But this team has not performed to the way that we thought it was going to be. So I'm sure they're going to ask hard questions like, what happened? What's the plan? How are you going to even if you're patient, if you spend a lot of money expecting to see one thing and it doesn't materialize, you're going to ask questions about it.
Yeah, I think they're patient. I think they're patient, but I also think that they don't ever want to look like they are rebuilding. or resetting.
No, they do
So
not
it's
want that. Yeah.
But it's sort of a weird thing, right? Because like if you're patient, ordinarily it would be like, okay, here's the plan. It's going to take 3 years or something like that. But they don't want that. Like they're the ones I think that told Crazy we want to like take Zimmer and Spielman's roster and win. And to the Vikings' credit, they did. But yeah, it's a very interesting push and pull there because I think they're good owners. But I also they were clearly sold in March on a vision, right? Hey, we're going to bring in these guys. The drafts have not been great, but we're going to replace we finally have all this cap space, which I think they probably blamed on the lack of cap space on Spielman. So now we're going to spend it, we're going to spend and blah blah blah, and now it's like okay, and you can barely explain why your quarterback is not playing well. So it's a really weird. We both covered the Vikings in very different states of good and bad and weird. This is almost another, because of where McCarthy was drafted, it's almost another like odd angle to be approaching this from.
Yeah, I mean, because you went out and invested in a quarterback with the 10th overall pick, thinking, I think they probably looked at and they've seen other quarterbacks thrive in other places, or like, hey, build the infrastructure around. But you're right. If you go back to like Mark Wilf, remember when the day they fired Childress and Spielman, what was the phrase that Mark used? But it was basically they thought the roster was better than the results.
Yes.
And so they do not like their fans. Like they're competitive as it can be. They want to win. And so I don't think they have the stomach for rebuilding and all that. So, they want to win. And so it'll be interesting if this thing doesn't turn around, if it just kind of continues how it is. It'll be interesting conversations, I think, year-end wrap-ups, like how'd this happen and where is it going? And
the one question that Phil and I and Declan have been batting around this week is, do they have the stomach for McCarthy? Like that's do they have the stomach for, you got to develop a quarterback? And by the way, it's going to be a lot more work than you thought. And because like the Wilfs do have a history of Brett Favre's available, we'll go pay him $1 million a game at the time, things like that. Do you have, it's one thing to draft a quarterback and say, this is the way to go. It's another to actually be sitting there and watching it and say, no, be patient.
Well, I think they have a enormous amount of trust in Kevin O'Connell. And I think it all depends on what KO tells him. Like if he says, listen, I see it, I know what I'm doing, it's going to be better, I think they will. I do think they respect his expertise and and football, acumen. So I think they will listen, take their cues or their guide by what he tells them at the end of this year about McCarthy. So I don't think they'd do that independent of what he would say,
No, but I guess I'm saying when do the patient get impatient, because it's hard to watch. I mean, Sunday was hard.
Yeah,
they're pulling the kid off the field. Passes are flying, all
over the place.
Mean, it was bad. And so I'm sure that they were there and they're watching that, right? And it's like, again, it's one thing to say, be patient. It's going to be fine. It's another to have the home crowd turning and you're like, okay, this is really, really bad. And then, because they're fans and they are hands off for a lot. But I mean, they fly, I think, still to this day, everybody out to Jersey to sit around a big table and talk about what went right or wrong.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this year end is going to be obviously McCarthy and where he's at and what they think, but also this roster, Judd, and like, how do they proceed forward? Because they clearly had a different vision in mind than what they're seeing from a veteran roster. So,
yeah. I think we might have talked about this last Thursday as well, but I think front office wise, there very well might be a fall guy.
Could be. Yeah.
I don't see them saying, oh, it's okay, you blew the 22 draft. The 23 draft is not great, and meanwhile you're seeing these guys from those drafts. I mean, Chipper, that Baltimore game, Kyle Hamilton deployed as the Josh Metellus role, and God bless Josh, he's been really good for the most part. This year's been a little tough, right?
Yeah,
but Kyle Hamilton's doing all of those things. I mean, can you imagine?
It's an all-pro.
Flores must have been salivating.
I know. I know. When you see him develop, how quickly he is and become an all-pro and all that. I mean, yes, that was a miss, a major miss.
But I mean, yeah.
And Detroit,
Jameson Williams, yeah.
You can, yeah. I mean, and the Wilfs are, they're aware of that. So again, those are gonna be part of the conversations. Like what, why'd you miss? What's gone wrong with the drafts? Like, I do think they're big in the like process. Like, how are you arriving at these decisions? Because I think they want to hear, they don't pretend to be like football experts, but they are business experts, and a lot of that stuff is process and like how you arrived at decisions. So they're going to want to know like how what's your draft process like.
So when they are told this week the process is to allow McCarthy to play and we don't care about wins, how are they going to take it? How are they going to take it? Your stock's going to plummet, but it's for the greater good.
Judd, the cement's drying. We're going to wait for
the cement's drying. The what again with his brain?
What's it called? The neurologic pathways are being rewired.
I don't even know what that. I mean, can we rewire them?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think I have neurological pathways in my head. It's just
I don't use them.
It's empty space up there.
I was going to say, you know what? I might have them. Don't use them.
It just, who you miss at a time like this? Sid.
Oh God, I've thought that a million times. The Sid. Neurological oh God, that's such a good point. Can you imagine Sid writing about the neurological or trying to? Oh God, I miss Sid for that. I miss him. There's so many times now a day that I hear stuff in sports and I'm like, well, off topic. Do you know, like we still don't know, we have no idea who these twins minority investors are, right?
He would be
Sid would have beaten them up. Sid would have beaten up the poll ads 6 months ago. We'd have their names, their addresses, their emails.
That's right.
I mean, can you imagine them being like, Sid, we're not going to tell you.
Yeah.
He would have gone to somebody he knows and had the names and taken them to the poll ads. Oh my God. I miss him.
Oh God bless
I miss him. All right, Chipper, we'll talk to you next Thursday. See you later.
We'll see you. Bye.
All right, bye.